Americans. As a matter of fact, I think there's down to probably 12, less than 10% black American players in Major League Baseball right now. Other questions? Comments? Yes, ma'am.
Why was Jackie chosen if he wasn't the fastest or the best hitter?
Jackie was, that's a great question, but Jackie was an educated black man. He went to UCLA,
Oh, yeah.
he was an officer, and he actually, one of the things that helped him get his officer's commission, he tried to get into OCS. He couldn't get in. They wouldn't allow him in. And this, I think, was 1944. But there was another famous black man that helped him because he was at Fort Riley, Kansas at the same time, and I think you'll know the name. His name was Joe Louis. And Joe Louis was doing work trying to, there was a problem when Joe Louis would fight in the military, fights at military bases. Sometimes the black troops couldn't get in. So Joe was taking a stand for that, and he stood up for Jackie at that time to help him get his officer's commission. So Jackie was one of strong character. Jackie had to swallow his personality. I think you can kind of look at, if you took yourself and you had to say like, okay, now you're the only one that looks like you do, and people don't like you, and you have to try to immerse yourself in that culture. It can be tough, especially, it wasn't that they didn't like him, they hate him. And you don't know why. And it's a very difficult thing to go through. Other questions, comments?
Well, the hate had to come from generations before. You know, just like the one child that was in the audience, and he heard somebody say, called him a nigger or whatever, and the kid picked up on it. And this is how children pick up on racism and prejudice, is because they hear it from adults.
That is correct. She's saying that, what's your name, ma'am?
My name's Mary Lou.
Mary Lou, thank you. Mary Lou was saying that a lot of the racist attitudes come from the parents. They're learned. And a lot of times if you see it, if you put kids together, whether they're Asian, Hispanic, or whatever, they're just playing. They're just friends, they don't care. But you get inside the houses and comments are made, things are said, and the next thing you know, attitudes begin to change. The young kid sitting up there, his favorite player was Pee Wee Reese, and Pee Wee Reese was a great player. And then when he saw that Pee Wee did what he did, that opened the door for him to kind of even feel bad about it. He didn't know what he was, he just didn't know. But that was a very interesting thing. Yes, sir?
Yeah, last year we saw the movie The Jackie Robinson Story, which Jackie Robinson was in. And this is 42, which is basically the same thing. Comparing the two movies, I think this movie, last movie, Jackie Robinson's Story, is more about just the life of an athlete who's the first black man in baseball. This movie's trying to push more of the, or show more of the prejudice that were showing up. And that Jackie Robinson story didn't show that much. That's the comparison I have between the two. But it's rather interesting that Jackie Robinson played himself in that movie, and he didn't really push to show how much prejudice he actually went through when he was going through. They show a little bit of it, but they don't show him being called bad names and all that kind of stuff. So it's an interesting comparison between the two movies. That this was made, that was made in the 50s. This is made, nowadays, and how they're trying to push or show that how much more prejudice there actually was than in that original movie.
Right. And I don't even know if Jackie would have really liked the portrayal so much because it became more about him. Jackie was a social advocate. He had his run-ins with some of the social groups that were going on at that time, but at the same time, he could make amends. There was a lot of, Jackie was more in the spirit of Martin Luther King, nonviolence, but there were other groups that were saying that Jackie was an Uncle Tom, that he shouldn't have took all of that abuse, and you know, people had their feelings about it. He had run-in with, he had a big run-in with Dr. Martin Luther King when King spoke out against the Vietnam War. And they reconciled that. But there came a point in time where the country's attitude for the Vietnam War actually changed. So Jackie was at the forefront, and these people are not one-dimensional. We like to see them as heroes, but they're all flawed. They all have their problems. They all have their issues. And but Jackie's character, to stay on point with what he needed to do, was, you know, it was very, very commendable. I mean, I couldn't have done it. I mean, I would have been still fighting today if I was out there. You know, that's just the way it is. But he was a different person, and he was a man for that particular job. A lot of people thought that the major leagues, that they did hasten the Negro League's demise. Because in any of you that play baseball, you know, you got 9 guys on the field, but you probably have 2 or 3 stars. Maybe you might have 4 stars. But if you take those 2 or 3 stars and you pull all those stars out, then consequently, your product is not as valuable. And so that was a big debate in the black community going on at that time. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm curious what his children or the rest of the family went on to do after he was on.
Well, his son got killed in a car accident. I think it was right after the Dodgers came out to California in 1958. Jackie didn't come with him. He had gotten traded to the New York Giants. So he didn't come. He never played for the New York Giants because he had already signed he had a deal with Chock full of Nuts, and he was the first black vice president of a major corporation. And Jackie put his name, he was a founder of a black bank. He was involved in a lot of different things. But his wife started the Jackie Robinson Foundation, and they give scholarships to deserving youth. And the interesting thing I found about it wasn't for athletic ability, it was for other things, you know, being Yes, ma'am.
Did he just have the one child?
I believe he had one. He may have had 2.
Oh.
Yeah.
And why did he die so young? Was it from injury of baseball, from baseball?
Heart disease
Oh,
and diabetes.
oh.
And he had poor eyesight, which a lot of people attributed that to diabetes. Yeah, diabetes is a big part of it. Yes, Jan. That's my girlfriend, Jane.
I would just like to comment that Jackie Robinson's legacy inured not only to the benefit of blacks, but to the benefit of everyone. I just made that observation when I read the notes at the end of the movie.
Mhm.
So it was a benefit to more than just blacks, to
Yes.
everyone.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. I took my grandson to see this movie last year. I went to see it first, but then I took my grandson, JP. He's in baseball for the first time. And you remember that scene between Ben Chapman when what an idiot Ben Chapman was, the manager for the Phillies.
Oh.
You know how he's going, N-I-G-G-E-R, and my grandson leaned over and said, "Grandpa, I don't understand." I thought,
That's
good.
great.
Good. And by the way, Martin Luther King Jr. later, yes, they did have disagreements. Martin Luther King Jr. thanked Jackie Robinson for his contribution to civil rights.
That is correct. Yes, Elaine.
I just want to point out that, you know, we have these 12 character traits. And if somebody is really strong in a few of them, it's amazing, right? But Jackie Robinson, he was strong in all of them. This is very, very unusual for one individual to be strong, to have perseverance, to know how to unify, to have personal integrity, to be of service. He was in the military service, right? To have the moral courage, to be a good citizen, to be fair, to have self-control. Remember the responsibility. Do you remember the scene in the movie where he's seeing his son in the what do you call it?
Nursery.
The nursery. I never had kids, so I forgot the name of that. In the nursery, and what does he say to the baby?
I'll always be there
I'll
for you.
always be there for you. My dad was not there for me. I will never leave you. As a personally responsible father. And then the respect, he was respectful, had gratitude, he was caring. It's just, to me, he's one of my personal heroes because of how he covers everything. I just had to say that.
Thank you, Elaine. There was another thing that, when I first came in, there was a question, and they had asked about Jackie's father. They didn't know. Jackie's father was a sharecropper. Now, I don't know why he didn't come to the West Coast with him, but sharecropping was a no-win situation for black people. And that may have been something that ran him on. I don't know if he just gave up or he got killed or whatever, but that's what he did down here in Georgia. Any other questions? Comments?
Well, could you put the picture of Jackie and Mac on no?
I don't have it.
What about the other children in the family? Were they athletic?
I think the other two brothers were, I don't know if his sister was or not, but I know his brother, like I said, his brother Mac was an Olympic sprinter. Took second in the 1936 Berlin Olympics in the 200-meter dash behind Jesse Owens. That's pretty fast. Yes, ma'am.